Imagine a time when cars were simple yet full of character, when engineering wasn't about gadgetry or electronic interfaces, but about robust mechanics, honest performance, and styling that came from pure automotive form. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, the automotive world was evolving rapidly. European manufacturers were experimenting with new ideas, balancing tradition with innovation. And in Czechoslovakia, at the legendary Skoda factory in Mladá Boleslav, one particular car quietly began its journey toward iconic status, a model that would become not just a beloved classic but the foundation for one of Europe's longest-lived nameplates. That car was the Skoda Octavia. Wikipedia. The Octavia name has a meaning steeped in heritage. Derived from the Latin word for eighth, it signified that this was the eighth model produced by the nationalized Skoda company after the Second World War. It also represented a milestone in engineering, the eighth Skoda to carry advanced independent suspension across all wheels. When production began in early 1959, the automotive world barely noticed what was happening in Czechoslovakia. But within just a few years, that subtle introduction would blossom into something far greater than its modest beginnings. Skoda Storyboard Plus One. Under the hood of this early Octavia was a straightforward yet dependable engine, a four-cylinder inline unit displacing about 1.1 liters, producing roughly 40 horsepower. For its time, this was modest power, but it was paired with a light body and a rear-wheel drive layout that gave the car a lively, nimble feel on roads that were, in many places, still being built for modern traffic. Power was sent through a 4-speed manual gearbox, and the car could reach a top speed of around 110 km per hour. That may not sound like much today, but in the early 1960s, especially in the rolling countryside or on the new motorways emerging across Europe, it was more than respectable. Skoda Storyboard Plus One. Styling of the original Octavia was graceful in a subtle way. It wasn't loud or flashy like many American cars of the era. Instead, it was compact, functional, and elegant, with flowing lines that hinted at both practicality and charm. The design carried something of an understated confidence, as if the car knew what it was capable of without needing to shout. And though it was built in an era of limited automotive luxuries, it managed to integrate engineering improvements that were quite innovative for the time. One example was the introduction of asymmetric headlights, a forward-thinking move meant to improve safety by better illuminating the driver's side of the road during night driving. Skoda Storyboard. The chassis and suspension setup of the Octavia was another point of distinction. Skoda engineers moved from traditional leaf springs to a more sophisticated front axle featuring coil springs and a torsion bar stabilizer. This combination gave the car a smoother ride and more comfortable handling than many contemporaries. Comfort wasn't just a buzzword, it was an intentional design choice, enhancing everyday driving in a way that owners could feel every time they turned the key. Skoda Storyboard. By 1960, the Octavia was evolving beyond its original sedan layout. At the Geneva Motor Show that year, Skoda showcased a sportier variant, the Octavia Touring Sport TS. This was a more performance-oriented version, with power bumped up to about 50 horsepower and a top speed approaching 130 km per hour. While those figures might seem low compared to high-performance sports cars, in its class and its time the Octavia TS was a spirited performer. It demonstrated that Skoda was not afraid to push boundaries, even within the constraints of modest displacement and rear-wheel drive dynamics. Skoda Storyboard Plus One. But the story doesn't end with technical specifications. The Octavia TS went on to make its mark in motorsport, racing not just for show, but for trophies. The TS variant was homologated for competition and went on to score class victories in events like the famed Monte Carlo Rally. From 1961 to 1963, it brought home a hat-trick of class wins, proving that this Czechoslovak family car could handle the rigors of rally competition with genuine grit. It wasn't just fast, it was reliable, resilient, and built to endure. Skoda Storyboard Plus One. Speaking of endurance, Skoda didn't stop innovating. In September of 1960, at the International Engineering Fair in Brno, the company unveiled another landmark version, the Octavia Combi. This was Skoda's early answer to the versatile station wagon trend. With its distinctive two-piece, horizontally split tailgate, the Combi offered a level of practicality that few competitors could rival at the time. Despite its compact exterior, it comfortably seated 5 and provided an expansive load area. The boot space could range from about 690 liters with seats in place to more than 1,050 liters with the rear seats folded, a design that was both clever and ahead of its time in terms of utility. Skoda Storyboard Plus One. The Octavia Combi's engine was slightly different too, using a 1.2-liter 4-stroke power plant that delivered around 47 horsepower. Paired with the familiar 4-speed gearbox, it offered a sweet balance of usable performance and everyday practicality. Whether you were hauling goods, going on a family holiday, or simply driving through city streets, the Combi felt capable and composed. It proved that Skoda could blend utility with character in a way that resonated with both domestic and export markets. Skoda storyboard, and markets beyond Czechoslovakia did indeed take notice. The Octavia wasn't just sold domestically, it was exported widely, reaching buyers in the United Kingdom and other countries who were keen on a car that married European engineering with value. Its combination of robust mechanics, reliable performance, and straightforward maintenance made it appealing to a diverse range of drivers. It wasn't a prestige car, nor was it a high-end luxury machine. It was something perhaps even more enduring, a well-built, trustworthy companion on the road. Wings Skoda. Production of the sedan continued through the early 1960s, with the last two-door saloon leaving the Marta Boleslav line in April 1964, marking the end of that chapter as Skoda transitioned to newer models. But the Octavia Combi kept going, remaining in production until December 1971, long after the sedan had been succeeded by the rear-engine 1000-1100s of a megabyte series. Across the entire production run from 1959 to 1971, more than 360,000 Octavias rolled off the factory floor, including more than 54,000 Combis. That's a remarkable production number for what began as a humble car from the heart of Eastern Europe. Skoda storyboard. There were practical and cultural impacts too. The Octavia's drivetrain, its engine and gearbox, found life beyond the car itself. It was used in vehicles like the Trekker, a light utility vehicle produced in New Zealand in the late 1960s and early 1970s. It even found its way into variants like the Skopak assembled in countries such as Pakistan in the early 1970s, where local automotive history intersected with Skoda's engineering heritage. This illustrates a key truth: the Octavia wasn't just a car on paper, its mechanical DNA traveled the globe. Wikipedia. Today, aficionados of classic cars look back on the early Octavia with genuine affection. It is appreciated for what it was, and what it represented. It was a practical, family car, a rally contender, an export success, and above all, a piece of automotive history that laid the groundwork for the future. It had character where many cars of its era were content with uniformity. It had soul where some prioritized simplicity. And it had an engineering philosophy that lasted far beyond its production lifetime. Classic and sports car. The legacy of the Octavia name is perhaps even more significant. After a long hiatus, Skoda resurrected the name in 1996 with a new generation that took the brand into global prominence. That modern Octavia would become one of the company's most successful models ever, with millions built across multiple generations. But every time someone steps into a modern Octavia, they are, knowingly or not, walking in the footsteps of that original 1960 legend from Marta Boleslav. Classic and sports car. So when we reflect on the Octavia of 1960, we see more than just an old car. We see a symbol of ingenuity, resilience, and practicality. We see a machine that responded to the needs of its era, yet planted seeds for something much larger. We see a car that proved you didn't need outrageous power or flashy gimmicks to leave a lasting impression. What you needed was reliability, innovation, and the courage to build something that people could trust, day after day, kilometer after kilometer. And that, perhaps, is why the Octavia nameplate still resonates with enthusiasts and drivers around the world today.